based on this. If they don't fight next, I think Jaron Ennis is going to fight Pavel Soslin, the number 2 ranked WBA contender from Russia. I think he's like 12-0. He just fought a couple days ago. He won. He's going to fight him. Everyone's going to say, who the fuck is Pavel Soslin, right? They're going to say, who is this guy? I never heard of this guy in my life. And then, everyone from Philadelphia is going to watch like 2 clips of him, and then we're going to see videos saying, nah, if you ain't seen Pavel Soslin, you don't know boxing. He's underrated, right? We're going to get Damage Control from Philadelphia and everybody over there, right? He's going to fight him, stay busy. And the thing is, too, Pavel Soslin probably wouldn't be a lot of money. So, Eddie Hearn, we saw Eddie Hearn. He paid Luma a little $250,000. And that's what it is. You don't have to pay too much for Pavel Soslin. He might be able to get Pavel to fight Boots for even less than that. So, shit, that's what's going to happen next if they don't fight. And then I think Vergil is going to fight Sebastian Fundora for the world title. Yeah, I think, Vergil Ortiz hasn't been a champion. They say for this Vergil Ortiz Boots Ennis fight that it has to be for a world title in order for it to mean something, right? Like a world title is going to make this fight that much bigger. Technically, right, if you want to be technical about it, and I know people don't respect the IBO title, but Boots did win the IBO title his last fight against Usima Lima. Would the WBC title being on the line for the fight be any different than the IBO title being on the line? Like, it's not going to make it that much bigger. Vergil Ortiz is who he is at this stage of his career. He's done a solid job selling in his home state. But he hasn't really shown that he can sell beyond Texas. Same thing for Boots. Boots has shown that he can sell in a solid way in Philadelphia most of the time, right? But he hasn't shown that he can be a draw in Vegas yet. So they're both the same commercially, in my opinion. They're both the same commercially. So you know what? I don't understand why there's all this posturing going on. But I think, Fundora versus Vergil, I think could be a fight that happens. Now, look, it is the MGM Grand. The MGM Grand is only reserved for the biggest and best fights in boxing. Now, I don't think Vergil versus Fundora would qualify as that, but if they're not going to fight each other next, with this being Vergil Ortiz's chance to fight for a world title, with all the hype Vergil's built all these years, if he's fighting a guy like Fundora who's also 6'6", and people are going to say, damn, he's fighting this big old giraffe with boxing gloves, it might actually sell well, but I don't know if it's MGM. So maybe March is going to be when it happens. We'll see, but I don't think so. I don't think so. You know what? And we'll go to screen share because I want to really get this off. So if they don't fight each other next, I think Boots inevitably winds up fighting Pavel Soslin, and I think Vergil Ortiz winds up fighting Sebastian Fundora. So yeah, this is my tweet last night in and around this time. I said it right here. I said that these will be your next 2 fights when they inevitably don't get the deal done for this fight. And by the way, make sure you go follow me on Twitter at True School Sports. I'll be on there all the time just having fun, talking shit. So go on there and say what's up. But yeah, I really think that these fights are gonna happen. Now, you may say, BT, why the hell is Boots gonna fight some random Russian guy? And why is Vergil Ortiz gonna fight Fundora? So all you gotta do is go look at the rankings. You got right now, as you can see right here, Vergil Ortiz is your interim champion. Sebastian Fundora is the actual champion. And PBC, we know PBC right now, they're on life support. They're doing their thing. They're putting on a good card on December 6th with Lamont Roach and Pitbull Cruz, but they're not really in a great place. Neither is Top Rank. And this is probably one of the rare scenarios in of recent history where the Golden Boy fighter would actually be the A side over the PBC fighter. You understand? I think this is a fight that that PBC would happily take because Sebastian Fundora, even though he is a Mexican-American fighter and he is a TV fan-friendly fighter, Sebastian Fundora is not a guy that sells tickets. I mean, if you go back and you watch his last fight against Cordell Brooker, the crowd was so small he could have hugged the whole crowd in about 10 minutes and been out the arena. I mean, it was a real small crowd, probably the smallest crowd I've ever seen for any fight at Mandalay Bay. So I think they'll take this fight because they understand that a win for them over a guy like Vergil Ortiz would boost Fundora's value. You understand? So I think they're gonna fight if Boots him don't fight next. And then as far as Jaron Ennis, if he don't fight Vergil next, I think he's fighting Pavel Soslin because as you can see, Boots is the interim champion for the WBA. Abbas Barrow isn't going to fight Boots because Abbas Barrow is going to fight Xander Zayas in a unification fight. That officially got announced today. That'll be January 31st in Puerto Rico. So the WBO champion and the WBA champion are occupied right now for a unification fight. And you see the number 1 spot here is vacant. And the number 2 is Pavel Soslin. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't come on here and tell lies. I don't come on here and act like I know what I'm talking about when I don't. I don't know shit about Pavel Soslin. I never seen him fight. I couldn't tell you one thing about his career. All I can tell you is that he's number 2 in the WBA. I haven't watched him yet. But you know, if we're gonna use BoxRec and just look at his resume at face value, I'll be honest. I don't really recognize any of these names except his fight from July. And that's right here. So he fought Magomed Kurbanov, and Magomed Kurbanov is a guy that, you know, he had a really controversial fight. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had a controversial fight with Liam Smith. Was it Liam Smith or was it Soro? Who was it? Liam Smith. He had this fight with Liam Smith that a lot of people thought he lost, but they gave it to him, right? You know, and he beat Patrick Teixeira. He had another, you know, close fight, Michael Soro. So he's not terrible, but he ain't great either. He's solid. And Pavel Soslin beat him in a split decision in Russia. So that's the most notable name on his resume, beating former world title challenger Magomed Kurbanov. And, you know, none of us really know who he is here in the States. So, you know, I think if history tells us anything, that's probably what Boots is going to do next. I think about Pavel Soslin. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I mean, y'all can tell me, are any of you guys excited about, you know, Jaron Ennis fighting Pavel Soslin? Are you excited about, you know, Vergil Ortiz fighting Sebastian Bandura? You let me know in the comments. Boots will kill Danny Garcia. You know that.